Welcome to The Bible Has Answers for Today, where we talk about God's creation and how to defend our faith. We're currently in a 4-part series called Mankind, God's Greatest Creation. In part 1, we talked about the incredible human body. Now here in part 2, we're going to talk about junk DNA. Does this really prove that we evolved from ape-like creatures? And our challenge for this series is, did humans evolve by naturalistic processes over millions of years, or were we created by an all-powerful, all-knowing Creator God? Let's start with some background. What is DNA? DNA is the software of life. It provides the instructions for living things to survive, grow, and reproduce. It was first discovered in the 1860s by Swiss chemist Johann Friedrich Miescher. However, it wasn't until 1953 that Watson and Crick discovered the chemical structure of DNA. Since then, DNA has continued to amaze scientists with its complexity and information storage. In the 1970s, scientists discovered that only a small percentage, about 3% of our DNA, codes for making proteins. This led many scientists to suggest that most of our DNA has no function. It is considered leftover DNA during our evolution from the beginning of life. It has often been referred to as junk DNA. Since the 1970s, junk DNA has become a so-called proof of evolution and taught as a fact in our schools. Well, let's look at the real facts. Modern technology has now killed the concept of junk DNA. This occurred after the completion of the Human Genome Project and the ENCODE project. Now, ENCODE stands for Encyclopedia of DNA Elements. The project began in 2003 as an outgrowth of the Human Genome Project, and it lasted for 9 years. The project consisted of hundreds of scientists from dozens of labs around the world. What were the findings? The results were published in a set of 29 scientific papers and in a special issue of the journal Nature in 2012. The results revealed that 80% of our DNA was functional, and this will likely go to 100% with further research. Rather than being useless, meaning junk, the portions of DNA that do not code for making proteins contain about 4 main switches that control when our genes turn on and off and how much protein they make. These not only affect all the cells and organs in our body, but they do this at different points in our lifetime. Now let's take a closer look at DNA, a highly complex molecule. Our alphabet has 26 letters. The DNA code uses only 4 different letters called bases. Our entire DNA sequence is called a genome. The human DNA code is 3 billion letters long. It would take a person typing 60 words per minute at 8 hours a day 50 years to type the entire genome. If you unwound and tied together the strands of DNA in one cell, it would stretch almost 6 feet long and be only 50 trillionths of an inch wide. If all the DNA in our body was put end to end, it would go to the moon and back 3,000 times. That's over 1.4 billion miles of DNA in our bodies. There is a DNA repair mechanism in the cell that responds to and fixes any damage in the DNA structure. DNA is segmented into blocks called genes. Genes act as instructions to make molecules called proteins. Human DNA contains about 23,000 genes, which code for making over 2 million different proteins. For many years, scientists believed each gene coded for one protein, but the incredible DNA molecule proved them wrong. It was much more complex than they ever imagined. A single gene can have many separate segments called exons that are used to build proteins. Different exons in a gene are used to create different proteins. Therefore, when the gene is translated into RNA, the exons can be joined together in different ways. In 2013, scientists discovered DNA uses 2 different languages, one written on top of the other, one language for making proteins and one for gene control. One DNA molecule can hold 1,000 encyclopedias worth of information. Just 1 gram of DNA, and a gram equals 0.035 ounces, can hold 455 exabytes of information. That's 1 followed by 18 zeros. The total information in the world, estimated to be 1.8 zettabytes, could be stored in about 4 grams of DNA. No scientist has come close to explaining how the incredible amount of information got into biological matter by naturalistic means. Every year, scientists are uncovering new complexity about this incredible molecule called DNA. DNA is indeed an amazing creation necessary for all life. Although written thousands of years ago, King David's words about our marvelous human body still prove to be true when we read in Psalm 139, verse 14, "I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well."